Good evening, and welcome to the Press Box. I'm Vanessa Johnson, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me are Reynolds and Marcks. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
All right.
Okay. I'd like to take this time and remind our audience that this is a live show. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys. First, Atlanta fans lost Dominique. Now they lost Dion. Why?
Well, Jay, I'll go ahead and let you hit on why, but as for liking it, I don't like it. I don't like this trade at all. I think Deion Sanders is the second most dangerous player on that team, or was the second most dangerous. Here he was second on the team in runs scored. As a leadoff hitter, he was asked to take more pitches and try to get more walks. He has done that. He was leading the National League in stolen bases. And Deion is such a dangerous hitter with men in scoring position and in 2 outs. And he is just nothing but production and run scoring ability, and they just threw it away. Kelly's a good ball player, but I really think that they're going to miss Deion Sanders in clutch situations.
I agree. What do you think?
I think it's a great trade for the Braves that brought a right-handed bat into the lineup. Roberto Kelly is an all-star outfielder.
Two-time.
He's a lot more polished in the outfield. I know Deion Sanders is probably the fastest man alive, but you can only run back there so many times before you got to catch the ball. And you can run in as fast as you want, but if you don't have a feel for when you can get the ball and when you're supposed to play it on the hop, then you're not really helping your team. I do agree that Sanders is a dangerous player, but potentially he's going to be one of the best baseball players in the league. But potentially. Roberto Kelly already is one of the best players. He's a proven outfielder. He's an RBI guy. He hits with power. He's fast. He's a good fielder. And he steals some bases. I think he has 4 stolen bases in 2 games with the Braves, so I don't think they're going to lose that speed. He has questioned batting in the leadoff spot, but I think that's the place for him. They can juggle the lineup around a little bit more, but teams were lining up, Ty, to their left-handers. They were, just like we said in the offseason, the Braves are susceptible to left-handed pitching, and teams are starting to juggle their rotation around and get all their left-handers in a row so that they could face the Braves. Now this gives them a little more pop from the right side, and with Pendleton switch hitting, I think they're going to be fine.
But Kelly, as you mentioned earlier, already stated that he's not comfortable with that leadoff position.
Now, he said he's not comfortable with that.
He didn't say, I'm not going to bat leadoff.
Right, but he'll do it. He'll do it. He's not comfortable, but he will do it. One question I have with Kelly also is his reliability. He always seems to get hurt and has missed a lot of games. Basically, sometimes he's missed half a season. I question his reliability, and what are the Braves going to do if he goes down for a significant amount of time again? What do you do? Can Tony Tarasco play center field? Do you put Jarvis Brown out there? I don't know. If you put Brown out there, you lose a lot of offense. If you put Tarasco out there, does he have the capability to play the defense? Or you just possibly bring up Mike Kelly, and you don't have to change uniforms. They can just take the uniform off of one and stick it on the other.
Although they're deep. So I think the fact that Kelly might have injury problems won't hurt the Braves. Go ahead.
Jay, we got a phone call.
You're kidding.
Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, you guys started out talking about Dion, and I think I'm in the minority, but I'm actually happy to see the guy go. The more I read about the whole process in the paper about Dion refusing to show up for team pictures and other meetings, and his teammates, getting to the point to where they're saying, hey, is there a double standard as far as Dion's concerned? I think Sherholtz made a good move. I think Kelly's a very adequate acquisition for his type of talent. And there's no doubt Dion's a good player. He's going to do well for Cincinnati. But, you got to remember this guy's got a history of flaking out on us. Last year he disappeared for 3 weeks, maybe even a month. I mean, he's a good player, but he's got to go. We need a full team here. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Good call. Thanks. Thanks for your call. That's a good point. He does bring some extra baggage to the table. I think that he's an individual. We all seen that in his football and baseball playing. You don't need an individual on a world championship team. I know the Braves aren't that yet, but if they're trying to strive to be a world championship team, you got to get rid of the people that have elevated their individual needs more important than the team. And it turns out, as the caller said, they did have some problems with him skipping team functions.
Right.
And then when he was asked about it, he really dissed the fans. He said, well, they weren't behind me when my dad died, so I don't feel like doing nothing for the fans. Well, he can do all he wants for the fans of Cincinnati now because he's not here anymore.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you on the air. Hello? Hello?
Technical
I guess not.
difficulties.
Guess we lost.
Oh, well.
He was just going to agree with me.
Yeah. Well, I'll hit on that as well, Jay.
All right.
Here it is. He does maybe cause a few problems like that. But then on the other hand, when you had all the trouble up in New York City with George Steinbrenner and Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin, they managed to still work things out and go out there and win games on the baseball field. So it might be able to affect your club, but I think it depends on the type of personnel and the type of leadership that you have. I think that if you have that type of leadership, that championship leadership that the New York Yankees showed during the late 70s, then this would not have been that big of a problem, and things would have worked themselves out on the field. And I really would have liked to see Deion stay.
That's a good point. Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
All right, I just have one question for the guy in the middle.
Okay.
Is that his real hair?
No. No, I got the Howard Cosell mop on. No, go ahead.
He's a CEO for HRS.
Just call us if you have a sports question.
Okay. You guys mentioned Deion being an individual. How do you think this trade will affect the team?
I think for Cincinnati, it's going to help them offensively. First of all, this team's batting .282 as a club already. They're one of the most potent offenses out there. Adding him to a lineup with Kevin Mitchell and Barry Larkin, I think is really going to help them produce more runs in the hitter's park. I think Deion has the capability of hitting over 20 home runs this year easily, and I think he can get over 50 stolen bases, no problem, if he plays the whole time and doesn't get hurt.
What do you think, Jay?
Well, I think that Cincinnati's average went down when they traded Roberto Kelly because he was a 300 hitter. And so, Sanders is definitely going to help. He's a good leadoff hitter. He has learned to be patient on taking balls and seeing them. As a leadoff hitter, you got to do that. However, he never did learn how to bunt. I think they were trying, Clarence was teaching him, and they were trying to get him to bunt more like Otis Nixon, just anything to get on. I think that Sanders, like you said, is going to be a good player. He's going to help Cincinnati. But I think that Kelly's going to help the Braves more. When you have the best pitching staff in all of baseball, you really need to put the best defensive team out there. And with Klesko getting his time in, they really needed a better center fielder. Don't get me wrong, Sanders is an average center fielder. He's not a bad center fielder. But all he was doing was relying on his speed. He had no experience. He hasn't played like 18, 20 years of his life like a Roberto Kelly has or Otis Nixon has. So they were still teaching him the position of center field. And it's bothersome to a great pitcher like a Maddox or a Glavine when you're in trouble and you give up the deep fly to center field and you expect the guy to run it down and the guy turns his back and plays it off the wall, and he's supposed to be the fastest guy. So I just think they'll be better off defensively. Cincinnati will be better off offensively because they needed a left-handed stick, but not because Kelly's a worse hitter than Sanders. I think Kelly's a little better hitter. They both hit for power. I think that Kelly will steal more bases. He's been tabbed as a 15, 20, 25 stolen base man. Well, if you put him in the front of the lineup of the Braves, he'll get more steals because Blauser and Klesko are dead fastball hitters. So they won't see fastballs, and that'll give Kelly a chance to steal on the breaking pitches.
He's about 8 behind him right now, so we'll see.
Okay. The Braves have lost Otis Nixon, Ron Gant, and now Deion Sanders. Do you think they're going to make it to the World Series?
Oh, yeah. I think they could easily make it to the World Series. I think they have a good enough team. The question is that their bullpen needs to come through for them in tight games. And you saw a classic example of their bullpen today. Here they are. They're in a tough game. It's 2-2, and a man gets on. Bedrosian hits the next batter, Patterson, and and then they walk Barry Bonds, and then he gives up a hit, and then you're behind 3-2. This bullpen, it just seems to me in a tight game makes me nervous. The paper tried to defend them about a week and a half ago. All I know is that when it's a one-run game or an even game, that bullpen always seems to find a way to give up a run. I think that's going to be the big key. The other big key, if they want to go to the World Series and win this thing, is to get clutch hitting.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes. Is the gentleman in the mustache wearing a toupee?
Excuse me?
Oh, boy.
What did he say?
Guess
I don't
it's
know.
the
It's
same
not about
people.
sports.
No.
Okay. Well,
Okay, we're talking about the Braves and whether we thought they were going to the World Series. I think that the fact that they can lose Gant, they can lose Sanders, they can lose Barry Hill, Nixon, all they want. As long as they don't lose Greg Maddox, Steve Avery, Tom Glavine, good pitching beats good hitting every day of the week, okay? And so they can adjust their lineup. They can lose bench players. They can plug in another starter. But as long as they have the good pitching, they'll go to the playoffs. Now, whether they go to the World Series or not will depend on the matchups in the playoffs and who's the hot team. But I really think they got a good chance. I think Maddox is pitching better than ever. Avery looked pretty strong in his 6 innings today, and he's looked better and better. Smoltz, what is he, 2-6? But every time he pitches, he seems to go out there and give you 6 good innings, then he blows up.
So he doesn't get run support either.
Yeah, right. So if they just keep the pitching on line and, maybe get the bullpen some confidence is all they need. Ty's right. They have blown a couple of games, but they seem to come back, though, in their half of the inning.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Dodgers? They're in first place now. Do you think they'll be there at the end of the season?
Personally, I thought at the beginning of the year that San Francisco was going to run away with this thing, but something's happened here. Los Angeles has scored a lot of runs. They have just all of a sudden found some offense. And this team is really funny when you look at them. Usually when you think of the Dodgers, you think of a team going out there winning games 2-1 behind Oral Hershiser. Well, that's not the case anymore. Their team ERA is a little bit over 4. That's very unlike them, and they're hitting I think they're tops in the National League in runs scored. I never thought I'd see the Dodgers doing that this year.
Okay, you want to hear
Yeah, I don't think so much as the Dodgers playing good as the Giants are playing bad. And I think it comes, some of our comments last year when we were talking about the Giants and everybody called in saying, oh, they're a great team. And we all said, no, they're not. They're all having career years. And that's what they did. They all had a career year. Now when they're back to their average, baseball's the law of averages. They're back to their average hitting, their average pitching. They're a 500 team. So that's why the Dodgers are in first.
Okay. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Hi, my name is Mark. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And on the same topic of baseball, I've noticed that Georgia Tech and Auburn are both going to the College World Series this year.
Yes.
And I was wondering what you people thought might be the outcome of that, and which conference did you think was stronger, the SEC or the ACC in college baseball? I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the phone call.
Thanks for the
But when
call.
you sit there and look at the conferences, the ACC has 2 teams in the College World Series, and the SEC has 2 teams in there. If you go on recent history, the SEC is a better league simply because Georgia won the championship in 90, LSU won it in 91, Pepperdine won it in 92, and then LSU won it again in 1993, so you got 3 out of the last 4. I think that's saying a lot right there. However, that was the past. That was 90 through 93, and this year. I think that Georgia Tech has several pro players on that team, especially with the catcher Veritek. It wouldn't surprise me to see them win a whole lot of games in this World Series.
Florida State's played a good game, too.
Florida State's had a lot of talent, and you got to realize that Clemson is another good team in that conference. So
They got eliminated, though.
Yeah, they did.
But I think the point you make about the SEC, they've got to be the better of the conferences. Right now, like you said, Georgia, LSU, their success. I really think that Tech has sort of failed in their postseason efforts. They seem to be ranked at 1, 2, or 3 every year, and then they don't even make it to the College World Series.
Right.
And
This
then
is
they
their
had a
first
struggle.
time.
Yeah,
Right.
and now they had a struggle. They were obviously the best team in the Midwest bracket that they were placed in Wichita, but they struggled trying to beat Washington, a team that really had no business being there anyway. And so now they go in without momentum. It's like, how many games is Georgia Tech going to win? You're right about their players. They got some excellent players. However, I don't think Tech has the pitching that's going to sustain them. They'll win the first couple games because they got 2 really good pitchers. But then after that, who are you going to pitch? You can't bring these guys back unless you want to ruin them. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think that Tech's going to struggle to win down the road in the World Series. Whereas LSU, they're experienced. They've been there before. They won it 2 out of the last 3 years. They got to be kind of like one of the favorites.
That's a great baseball program.
Sure is.
Okay. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'm wondering what you guys think about Georgia Tech winning that World Series and the irony of them maybe meeting up with Miami, their ex-head coach.
Okay, good call. You want to go?
Well, I think there is a whole lot of irony. I'd give the advantage to Miami if that situation did happen because the coach there is going to know the strengths and weaknesses of all the other players on the other team. If they meet head-to-head, I really like Miami's chances.
Sure, that's a good point. The Miami coach knows both teams. The Georgia Tech coach only knows one team, right? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're familiar with both clubs.
And Miami's more experienced in the postseason. Here, the problem is right now that Georgia Tech
hasn't had that much College World Series. He said they won the College World Series, but all they did was win the regional to get into the World Series. And this is their first trip, despite having so many good teams year in and year out. They just don't ever make it in Omaha, isn't it, where they play the College World Series, Rosenblatt Stadium or whatever. They haven't been there. They've had one of the best teams in the country for several years, and they never get to Omaha. So this year will probably be a learning kind of thing, and they'll probably get bounced out. But I'm picking them. I like Tech. They're right down the street, and we might as well go with them, right, Ty?
I kind of like LSU. But
Okay, let's talk about the White Sox. They're starting to show who's boss in the Central, aren't they?
Well, when you talk about the White Sox, first of all, you're talking about a whole lot of offense. First of all, when you look at Frank Thomas, this guy's a potential Triple Crown winner.
Yes.
I mean, if Paul O'Neill would stop batting about 498 for the Yankees, Thomas has got a great batting average. He's batting something like 380 right now, and he's tops in the league, well, among the leaders in home runs and RBIs. You got people like Ventura playing with him, and just several players that are batting around 300. And as a team, the White Sox are batting about 290. Not only that, their pitching has been solid, except for Blackjack McDowell, who's been a real disappointment this year. But he had an attitude before the season started, so that's no surprise. But then all of a sudden, here comes Scott Sanderson. This old, worn-out guy is now 4-0 with that club and had a big game against New York the other day. I believe it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And so Chicago, they've gotten production out of 3 out of the 4 starters, and they've got one surprise starter. The only question I have with them is their bullpen. Hernandez was expected to be a big-time stopper. He hasn't been doing it this year. His ERA is over 5, and that could be a problem down the road if they get in a pennant race with either the Tribe or the Royals.
Yeah, I really think I pretty much agree with everything Ty said. Frank Thomas is pretty much outside of Griffey Jr. or Barry Bonds, the premier player in the league. He's an obvious Triple Crown threat, and they've surrounded him with a great talent in the lineup with Ventura and Franco, I think, hits right behind him. So you can't pitch around them. All 3 of them have like 50 RBIs. They're knocking in runs right and left. Their pitching's okay because of what you said about Jack McDowell. I think that as the season progresses, he'll realize is that him being in a contract year, he's going to have to string some wins together, and he'll get it together. But you're right, it's strictly mental with McDowell. He's a good pitcher, but he's upset with the organization, and I don't think he's putting his best effort out on the field right now.
Okay. I'd like to take this time and remind our viewers that this is a live show. So if you have any questions, just give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, let's move on to the NBA. The Pacers have came back on New York.
And that's kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I thought New York would win this thing in 5. Here it is, the last 2 games in Indianapolis. New York just shot pitifully in both games. In Game 3, Indiana shot about 50%. Well, and also in Game 3, New York made well over 20 turnovers. And so what does that equal? That equals a blowout. Here it is. You go to Game 4. New York changes things around. They out-rebound them by about 10. Their shooting percentages are about the same, 39 to 40%. But then here it is. New York makes 26 floor mistakes. And I don't care what all the other things you do that are right. New York has got to value possession of the basketball if they're going to win. This is their series to lose. I mean, New York can only beat New York in the series. And if they keep turning the ball over like that, they're going to lose. But I think that's going to stop. Riley's a great coach. I think he's going to make adjustments. I think New York's going to win the next 2 games.
I think New York will win the games in New York. I think they're just programmed to winning the ones at home. They have home court advantage, so they're just going to win the ones at home. You can tell by the turnovers, like you said, that they really aren't into it in Indiana. They play good defense, but they fumbled easy passes. If you watch that game, they fumbled easy passes out of bounds. They just missed, opportunities under the basket. They fumbled away, and they just seem like they're not mentally into it. You're right about Riley. He's a good coach. He'll have them sky high for Game 5. They'll clean up. They'll get back on top, But then they'll go back to Indiana, and really this is Indiana's last hurrah. So Indiana will win back in Indiana, and then the big Game 7 will be a blowout, and Knicks will steamroll into the finals.
I don't know about that, but we have a phone call. Thank you for calling, caller. You're on the air.
What I want to know is if the Braves don't win it this year, would you bring Bobby Cox back to manage next year?
Oh, without a doubt. Bobby Cox, he's led the team to 2 World Series. They hadn't won them, but, how many other managers have done that? So he led them to back-to-back World Series. They've won the West 3 times in a row. They got I think they're going to win the East this year, so he's going to have the title, the division title 4 years in a row. Sure, you have to have him back.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it goes beyond the Braves because when he was with Toronto, he had that team in the playoffs every year too. I mean, he's just a good manager. He's also a players manager. All the players seem to like him, and I think no matter what they do here, you bring Cox back and you let him be in the driver's seat in that dugout until he wants to leave.
Okay.
All right, thanks for the phone call.
Okay, we have another phone call. Thanks for the call. Calling on the air. Hi.
Hi. Look, I hate to shift gears on you here, but I'm really interested in the World Cup, and I like Argentina this year, but I don't know, Italy's really strong, and I think Belgium's going to make a run for it. What do you all think?
What do you guys think?
Okay, I think Italy. I think that they were the best team in it 4 years ago, and they got upset, and they were stunned. Their fans were stunned. Their team was stunned, and they have that Roberto Brazzi, is that his name? He's the best player in the world right now because of drug problems in the third world nations. And I just think that Italy has more of a mission. They have the best talented team, and now they're going to be more mentally focused to win the thing. Argentina will be good, but the United States can't play them down because they're the host team. They're going to be playing on emotion like in that Sylvester Stallone movie.
Okay.
Maybe they'll pull out one like that. You never know.
I think the United States may be lucky to get a couple of wins. I still don't think they play up to the caliber as the teams in South America or in Europe.
Okay, thanks for the phone call. Okay, what do you guys think about Utah? Do you think they're going to come back tonight?
No.
I think they're about cooked. I think you can stick a fork at them.
Yeah.
I mean, they shut miserably at home over there in the Delta Center in Game 4, and that's why they lost. Houston didn't shoot that well either, and the teams were basically even. What it comes down to in that game is that Houston just shot the three-point shot a little bit better, and they're going to do that every time anyway. They're a better three-point shooting team, and then they had the advantage in the pivot with Olajuwon. If the game is close and it comes down to last-second possessions or last-time possessions, I have to give Houston the big advantage. But tonight I don't think it's going to be that close. I think Houston will win easily.
Yeah, it's not just Olajuwon. I think Thorpe and Ori, they just give them better interior defense. Houston just has a tremendous defense down low. And I think that's why Utah shot so bad, is they were shooting a little farther out, you know. You got these guys that are good defenders, good shot blockers coming out on you. You got to step that shot back a little bit, and it messed up their rhythm. And like you said, Utah's done. I don't think they're going to win tonight, or even if they did happen to upset them, it would take a mammoth effort, and then they got to, step it up again. I just don't see them winning 3 games in a row.
No, I don't either. And when you sit there and you look at this Houston team, they have so many people who can shoot the three. You have Kenny Smith, you have Vernon Maxwell. And then when you sit there and you look at Houston, then there's depth. And Ely and Cassell, the rookie out of Florida State, have given them really valuable minutes backing up, coming off the bench. So Houston's tough in a series.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you on the air.
Yeah, what do you think about Deion Sanders?
We think,
Being traded.
Okay, thanks for the call. I think he's going to help the Reds. That's what I think he's going to do.
I think the Bengals would need him more, though, at cornerback.
You may be right about that. But I think he'll help the Reds, although the Reds are going to need some help at some starting pitching. That's going to be a big issue for them. Rio is something only like 2-3 right now. They lost Browning. So that's what the Reds are going to need if they're going to win this division, is to get some quality pitching. I mean, here they are. They're even in first with Houston, and Houston has gotten nothing out of Harnish and Kyle this year. They're having terrible years this year.
Harnish is hurt, though, so he'll be back.
And an ERA over 7 right now, and they need his arm this year. I mean, that's one of the main reasons that I thought Houston would be there. But then also, Swindell and Drabek have been awesome for them this year so far, and they really put a number on the Braves earlier. Another team is only 2 games behind them is the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have an ERA over 5 right now. Now, why in the world do the Cardinals have such a horrible ERA and they're only 2 games behind the Reds? I don't know why.
Joe Torre,
I
he's
think
an
it's bad
experienced
news.
manager.
I think it's bad news for Cincinnati. They're going to need some pitching, and they need to find it somewhere.
This is going to, we pegged this early on that this division was going to go down the wire and it was going to be a 3-team race. And you still can't count out Pittsburgh because they have a good manager, although they don't have hitting or pitching. But
I think
they
they're
may
last
come
in the
along.
National League in runs scored. Them or San Diego.
We'll
They're really
see.
struggling.
But Cincinnati, I mean, we may see them in the playoffs, and if so, all these Deion fans are saying, "Oh, Sanders is such a primetime player. He'll step it up in the playoffs. He'll single-handedly beat the Braves." Well, Bonds never single-handedly beat the Braves, and so with one good player having a good series, I don't think that'll ever happen. What Ty said is right. They don't have the starting pitching to stay with the Braves in a series like that. But I really think Cincinnati is the odds-on favorite now to win that division.
No, I still like Houston. I think they have a good shot.
They play in a dome,
if
they'll
they
never
get
win
Kyle
it.
coming back, go along with Swindell and Drabek, I think they're in excellent shape. And if they get Harnish, I think they're a sure thing.
Jay, you mentioned Deion in football. Do you think he'll actually play there?
Not in Cincinnati, but this opens a door for him to play anywhere he wants to. I think that he kind of would have thought some sort of allegiance to Atlanta had he been still on the Braves. He would have tried to work something out with the Falcons, but now I think he's free to go wherever he wants. And you're going to see some team that has a key cornerback hurt approach him because no one else is going to put him in their plans.
I don't know. To me, it seems that Sanders is angry about the trade. Do you think he might leave baseball?
No.
You don't?
No. But, he had his chance. I'll tell you the truth. He was given the starting job here, and he all of a sudden said baseball's boring, kids couldn't get into it. He thought it was just a hobby for him. He shouldn't have said all that if he wanted to be a full-time baseball player and a member of the Atlanta Braves for the rest of his life.
That's a good point. Well, we'll have to see what happens with Deion. Okay, I'd like to thank our callers and our viewers for watching the show. And thank you guys. And we'll see you next week, same time, same station.